Welcome to another episode of Auto Mundial, your weekly home of all the latest car news and reviews. This time we're getting dirty behind the wheel of the new Volkswagen Touareg. It's a big, luxurious SUV, but can it really cut it off the beaten track?
We also have a new executive saloon from France and the newly updated Range Rover Evoque.
And we test the new Honda Jazz Crosstar to see if it can shake up the old car's image. That is all coming up later in the show. Now though, the news.
Alfa Romeo is slashing prices across its model lineup with potential savings of more than £4,000. A reshuffle of its trim levels across the board means it's now cheaper to get into an Alfa, including the high-performance quadrifolio models of the Giulia and Stelvio. The Tonale Ti has been replaced by the Tonale Sprint, with new black exterior accents priced from just under £36,000. The Giulia's starting price has dropped by more than £3,000 to £39,995, meaning it now avoids the pricey premium car tax applied to any new combustion car costing more than £40,000. Also in the news, Nissan has announced plans to turn its Sunderland plant in the northeast of England into a manufacturing hub for its new electric vehicles. The project will see the next generation Leaf plus new electric Qashqai and Duke models all built in the UK. Part of a £3 billion total investment, the move secures around 7,000 factory jobs and supports a further 30,000 in the local supply chain. Nissan CEO Makoto Uchida said the new project means our UK team will be designing, engineering and manufacturing the vehicles of the future, driving us towards an all-electric future for Nissan in Europe. For as long as the Honda Jazz has been around, it has always been associated with, shall we say, people approaching the end of their driving careers. Easy to get in and out of and easy to drive, and available with an automatic gearbox, it has found itself a dedicated fan base of people who just want a comfortable and inexpensive way to get to the bingo. Now though, Honda has spiced things up a bit with this, the new Jazz Crosstar. With on-trend SUV styling and a host of new updates, is this the car to bring the Jazz a new, younger audience? Well, it certainly looks the part. The ride height is increased over a standard Jazz, and there are plenty of off-roady details, like the black plastic arches, adventure-ready roof rails, and the silver underbody protection pieces, which aren't functional, but look great as you tackle the perilous cobbled streets of central Manchester. The bumpers, front and rear, have been updated, and the Crosstar is now available with this tasteful and exclusive Fjord Mist paintwork. Inside, the Crosstar gets the same array of updates as the regular Jazz, including an excellent new infotainment system. The 9-inch central screen is bright and easy to use, and features Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. With loads of charging ports, a funky 2-spoke steering wheel, and shed loads of standard kit, there are certainly no reasons it wouldn't appeal to younger buyers, but the older customers are looked after as well, with big, easy-to-see icons on the touchscreen and water-resistant seat upholstery for those little spillages. On the road, the Jazz Crosstar is perfectly pleasant. You get a fantastic view out from the enormous windscreen. The view out is further enhanced by the impressively thin A-pillars and quarter-light windows, minimising blind spots and flooding the cabin with light. The increased ride height helps to deliver an excellent ride, although our professional Auto Mundial rear seat testers did report it was a bit jiggly over rougher roads. Thankfully, they were appeased by the spacious rear seat and the nifty mobile phone holders. The 1.5-litre Atkinson Cycle petrol engine is hooked up to a new, more powerful hybrid system with 2 electric motors, one for driving the car and another for converting power from the engine to electricity. Performance is decent, hitting 62 miles an hour from rest in 9.4 seconds, and the light but feelsome steering allows you to have a bit of fun when you venture out of town. Be warned though, put your foot down and the noisy CVT automatic gearbox surges the revs, creating quite a racket. It isn't cheap. Prices start at more than £28,500, over £2,000 more than a standard Jazz. But we think Honda has done an excellent job of revitalising it. The Crosstar drives well and looks fantastic. It's comfy, economical and extremely well made, and an excellent super mini however old you are.
In 1955, Citroën launched a car that would go on to be regarded as one of the most beautiful, luxurious and advanced cars France had ever produced. The Bertoni-designed Déesse, pronounced like the word for goddess in French, cemented Citroën as one of the world's most innovative car makers, with the Déesse now sitting as a standalone brand for Citroën's more premium models. We've seen numerous crossovers and SUVs from Déesse, but now they've launched a car that's much more in keeping with the badge's history, a luxury saloon. It's called the Déesse 9, a big four-door taking on the likes of the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes E-Class. However, if it wants to beat the Germans at their own game, it'll need to be impressive. This is the first luxury French saloon we've seen since the fabulous Citroën C6 of the mid-2000s. But on first impressions, it doesn't seem to be as peculiar and idiosyncratic as old big Citroëns. It looks largely like a conventional three-box saloon. All the windows and lights are where you'd expect them to be, and the suspension works as it does on any equivalent Mercedes, BMW or Jaguar. Look a little closer though, and the offbeat details begin to make themselves known. The LED rear lights look like crystal whiskey tumblers, while at the front, a chrome strip along the bonnet gives the car a classy retro feel. The cockpit is similarly embellished with loads of special bits. Everything from the buttons in the centre console to the vertical air vents look and feel a bit more interesting than in a German car. There's even a fancy BRM clock sitting above the diamond-shaped start-stop button, which rotates into position when the ignition is turned on. There's leather absolutely everywhere, especially if you spec your Déesse with the optional Opera Pack, meaning the 9 really does feel like the big exec saloon that it is. However, despite all the fancy bits, there are a few too many easy-to-find Citroën and Peugeot parts, and despite the massive rear doors, legroom in the back leaves a lot to be desired. Powering the Déesse 9 is a 1.6-litre turbocharged petrol engine paired up with a plug-in hybrid system. It's available in two different guises, the 249 brake horsepower E-Tense 250 and the all-wheel drive E-Tense 4x4 360 with 359 brake horsepower. This is the one to go for if you want performance to match the looks, completing the 0-62 sprint in 5.6 seconds.
However, if DS wants to take on the Germans at their own game, it will need to contend with this, the new Mercedes E-Class. As is often the case with new cars, the E-Class has grown. It's both longer and wider than before, resulting in improved cabin space. The boot stays the same at 540 litres, but that's put down to 370 on plug-in hybrid models. And that brings us neatly to the new selection of powertrains. All models are either mild or plug-in hybrids, and all make use of a 9-speed automatic transmission. There are both petrol and diesel mild hybrids on offer, each offering somewhere in the region of 200 horsepower, with the diesel model boasting an MPG figure of 58.9. Next up is the plug-ins. From launch, there are 2 petrol PHEVs to choose from, but a diesel will be arriving at some point. The entry-level PHEV is the E300e, which pairs a 2-litre 4-cylinder with a 25.4 kilowatt-hour battery for a combined 312 bhp. Step inside the leather-lined cabin and you're greeted with more S-Class derived bits. As with the bigger model, the option is there to have the dashboard filled with screens. In the E-Class, Mercedes calls it the Super Screen. It consists of one huge central infotainment system with a screen on either side for each of the front occupants. Of course, the E-Class is packed full of tech, including autonomous safety tech and automatic parking.
As much as we like the DS and admire those who buy one, it's tricky to recommend it over cars like the Mercedes. The biggest reason is the depreciation. Because of residuals on the used car market, monthly finance quotes for the French car are expensive, meaning you end up spending more per month than you would on an equivalent German car. If you can look past though, prices start at £56,000, rising to more than £74,000 for a top-spec car. And that's a lot. But you're getting one of the most interesting and unique cars on the road.
After the break, the new Touareg tested on and off the road.
Coming up, VW's new 2024 Touareg. But first,
the first generation Range Rover Evoque was a bestseller since its launch back in 2011. Representing Land Rover's first foray into the compact premium SUV market, many critics were unsure if it really deserved the Range Rover name. The public, however, was sure, and it has consistently outsold rivals ever since. Since the introduction of the second generation car in 2020, the Baby Range has remained as popular as ever. Now, though, it has had an update. Similar to the refreshed Discovery Sport we looked at a few weeks ago, the Evoque initially looks the same. Look closely though, and you will spot a new grille and some slimmer headlights. That's it in terms of styling though, with the majority of changes hiding under the skin. Step inside and you'll find Land Rover's latest Pivi Pro infotainment system with a smart 11.4-inch touchscreen with built-in Amazon Alexa. All controls are now operated via this single screen, rather than a dual-screen system for climate controls in the old car. Another big interior change is the selection of materials on show. Land Rover wants to make the Evoque a bit more premium to justify its £5,000 price increase. So a new selection of Cavdrat upholstery options is offered, although traditional leather is still available. Under the bonnet, the Evoque retains the same selection of petrol and diesel engines, but now nearly all the manual versions come with four-wheel drive and mild hybrid assistance. The P300e plug-in hybrid model also remains, but an updated battery means you can now travel up to 39 miles in electric mode, an improvement of 1 mile over the old version. In the grand scheme of things, this mid-life facelift might seem like a mild one, but in a class as crowded as this, Land Rover clearly thinks it pays to keep things current, especially against competition like this, the BMW X1.
Now entering its third generation, The X1 is BMW's smallest SUV, although this one has grown. It's slightly longer and wider, but it retains the same platform found in the 1 Series and Mini Countryman. Arguably one of BMW's most successful recent pieces of design, the X1 looks great with its modern creases and big kidney grilles. The new lights, both front and rear, really mark it apart from the old model, while the overall chunky aesthetic will be a big selling point for those who don't want another copy and paste crossover. Inside, the cabin has a thorough makeover. It all looks very high-end, with the key feature being the new set of curved screens, which features a 10.7-inch digital instrument display and a 10.25-inch infotainment screen. The 540-litre boot can increase to 1,600 litres with the seats folded, although electrified models use up some of that space for the batteries.
Prices for the Range Rover start at about £40,000, and for that you can get a nicely spec'd M Sport petrol or diesel X1. Opt for one of the 2 plug-in hybrid models though, and the BMW starts to look a little pricey. For us, the Evoque remains a tough car to beat. It is well priced in this class and retains a certain style that none of its German competition can quite match. The new Evoque is on sale now, but do be wary of Land Rover's lengthy wait list.
Just in time for the new year, Volkswagen has launched its new 2024 Touareg. A midlife update for the current 3rd generation car, the new Touareg gets a host of tweaks both on the outside and under the skin. There's a new front grille, updated bumpers, and new headlights made up of more than 38,000 micro LEDs. Meanwhile, at the back, the big SUV now features a full-width light bar and an illuminated VW badge to make sure you don't confuse it for a Cayenne. There are some new paint options, and these fabulous alloy wheels that you definitely don't want to curb. There are 3 trim levels to choose from: the Elegance, the Black Edition, which swaps chrome for black trim, and the top of the range R-Line with sportier styling. Inside there's some new tech and an updated digital cockpit, but otherwise it remains as spacious and luxurious as before, with all models getting a decent kit list and a premium feel. Under the bonnet, the Touareg gets a new selection of 5 powertrain options, all 3-litre V6s. There are petrols, diesels and plug-in hybrids, including the Hot R model, which boasts 456 brake horsepower. All versions get the same 8-speed auto box and 4-motion all-wheel drive. It's the lower spec PHEV though that offers the most attractive blend of efficiency and performance. It puts out a combined 375 brake horsepower, enough to see this big 4x4 from 0 to 62 in under 6 seconds. Put it in sport mode and it picks up well in any gear, letting you barrel along at a decent pace. This is no sports car though, it's much happier cruising along quietly and comfortably. High-spec cars come with an excellent height-adjustable air suspension system, which does a great job of ironing out the bumps on British B roads, but even the base spec car's coil springs cope well. Around town, the hybrid Touareg is near enough silent in its EV mode, although the relatively small 14.3 kWh battery means its electric range is a modest 31 miles. It's economical though, delivering 128 mpg, and it's significantly cheaper than rivals from BMW and Porsche. If you're after a more traditional Touareg experience though, the V6 diesel is still a great option. It's torquey and it even sounds quite good, and it makes a great tow car. This brings us neatly onto the Touareg's party piece, the new trailer assist system. Reversing with a trailer is one of the trickiest skills to master behind the wheel, but with this new feature, you don't need to use the steering wheel at all. Put the car in reverse, and you can steer it using the electric mirror adjuster, while on the infotainment screen, the reversing and 360 cameras give you a clear idea of what the trailer is up to. At first, it's a little counterintuitive. but get used to it and it soon becomes an incredibly useful feature. And the Touareg's farm appeal doesn't end there. Venture off the beaten track and the big VW is surprisingly capable. Even on its low-profile road tyres, the luxury SUV makes light work of some very muddy and very steep off-road trails. Prices for VW's flagship SUV start at a little under £68,000, rising to 80 grand for the Performance R model. It's a bit cheaper than a BMW X5 and a few grand less than its sister car, the Porsche Cayenne. The Touareg then still offers all the space, performance and luxury as other big German SUVs, but without the "look at me" badge on the front. It's impressive and discreet, just as a Touareg should be. Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we put the Honda Civic Type R through its paces on some of Britain's best roads. Don't miss it.